I'm here with the miserable liberal Steph Zamorano, and we have to talk about this again. We have to keep talking about it because I thought that after the election that the Democrats would get their head out of their ass and start being reality-based again, and I was wrong, and they're going crazy, insane. They're talking about Russia again, like it's 1980. We used to make fun. I don't know if you remember in 2012, the Democrats made fun of the Republicans and Mitt Romney because their foreign policy views of Russia were stuck in the 80s. And the Democrats immediately showing their hand at being just as craven and politically opportunistic and stupid, though, politically also. This doesn't help them. So we have to keep talking about this because it seems half the Democratic Party has lost their minds. And I'm talking about the people who backed Hillary in the primary. I'm talking about everybody at MSNBC. I'm talking about everybody at CNN. The mainstream, people are gone nuts. So we have to talk about what happened and what really happened. So they're still writing these articles. Politico says Obama says the Democrats lost by not showing up. We already talked about him wagging his finger at the electorate. But here's Sean King from the Daily News. Now, he writes a lot of great articles. I like his stuff. And he wrote this, and this is pretty, this article is pretty comprehensive. He says, headline is, Obama and the Clintons still have no earthly idea why the Democratic Party lost the presidential election. And so, not to beat a dead horse, but because they still, this is very instructive to see what's wrong with the leadership at the Democratic Party. We all know the big problem is that they became Republicans in the 90s under Bill Clinton and got in bed with the people that they used to oppose, meaning Wall Street and big oil. So the statements, if anything, so he's talking about the statements that the president has made and other leading Democrats have made. These statements, if anything, reveal what happens when politicians are isolated from the American public for so long, and Barack Obama has. Holy shit. While some nuggets of truth could be found there, by and large, they all severely miss the mark on how and why Hillary Clinton lost. Instead of looking internally at mistakes they made, they continue to look outward, casting blame on anybody and everybody but themselves. The FBI investigation into the Clinton email mess was admittedly a bit of a public fiasco, but Hillary has openly admitted that she mismanaged the safety and security of her emails. In spite of it all, for months on end, Clinton denied violating any policies or laws when the investigation revealed that she actually did violate them frickin' repeatedly. She has to own her primary role in that debacle. Secondly, this is Obama's FBI. Yeah, they keep blaming Comey and Obama appointed the guy. Keep reporting Republicans. Keep reporting Republicans, you fucking idiots. Oh, how'd that work out? Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate. And this is where Sean King really gets into it. Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate to run against Donald Trump. Of course, the Obama and Clinton families will never say this. But she was. I honestly believe that she may have been the only leading Democrat that Donald Trump could have beaten. She was. Anyone else would have beat Donald Trump. Again, people weren't necessarily voting for Donald Trump. They were voting out of desperation and against the establishment. Next to him, she was among the least popular politicians to ever run for president. Now, that's a fact. The second most unpopular politician in the history of presidential politics, Hillary Clinton. That's a fact. But I bet it's everything else. It's Jill Stein. It's Bernie Bros. It's the Russians. It's Comey. It's sexism. Right? It's sexism. Trump is a rich, unethical liar with major character problems. To beat him, you run the opposite of that. Clinton, true or not, was not seen as the opposite, but the Democratic equivalent. That is true. Secondly, the Democratic Party needed to be the party of progressive populism to beat the rise of Trump's phony conservatism populism. But they chose candidates and strategies that simply could not do this. They were trying to run like they thought they were running against Jeb Bush. And they didn't understand that they were running against a populist. And they got out populisted. Remember, Trump was to the left of Hillary on banking regulation. He's for reinstating Glass-Steagall. He was to the left of them on TPP. So he's to the left of her on trade, left of her on banking. Which means he's to the left of her on jobs. Whereas Trump tapped into the anger and frustration of his voter base, the Democratic Party failed to do the same thing on issues that had widespread grassroots support from coast to frickin' coast. Yes, the Democrats failed to tap into the anger and frustration of their voter base on issues that had widespread grassroots support from coast to coast. The Black Lives Matter movement never really believed Clinton cared. She all but ignored the Dakota Access Pipeline. In spite of the fact that millions of people were outraged about it. While workers and unions and everyday people had joined the fight for 15 minimum wage battle, Clinton and her team waffled on it every chance they got. Mm-hmm. Documents revealed that she supported fracking. Mm-hmm. Terry McAuliffe, who by all accounts is among the closest confidants of the Clinton family, openly said she would flip on TPP once elected. Instead of being anti-war, she was seen as a fucking hawk. So again, they're describing a Republican. She's pro-TPP, she's a war hawk, she's in bed with Wall Street and fossil fuel companies. What makes her a Democrat? She won't even lead on the fight for 15. She won't even join the fight for 15. In other words, while progressives were fighting against police brutality, against the Dakota Access Pipeline, against TPP, against fracking, and for a $15 minimum wage, Clinton was consistently on the wrong side of each of those issues. Yeah. Russia, Comey. Clinton campaign lost because they ran a bad campaign for the time that we actually live in. The Democratic Party put out the wrong candidate, but even with her, they could have and should have still won the election. But they repeatedly ignored and dismissed progressive people and causes that could have tipped it in her favor. No doubt. She wouldn't even mention DAPL. She wouldn't even put a progressive as her vice president. Barack Obama's nominating a practically corporate Republican to the Supreme Court at the same time he's pushing TPP. What's the point of the Democratic Party? As nice as Tim Kaine is, they chose a vice president who was safe but did nothing to move the needle even marginally. And even now, as the Democratic establishment seems hell-bent on not choosing Keith Ellison as their leader of the DNC, in spite of widespread progressive support for him. I've never seen anything like it. This is the natural This is the natural end game of the Bill Clinton Democratic Party when he decided to change the Democratic Party from a party of workers and blue-collar people to a party of Silicon Valley and Wall Street. And the Democrats have to acknowledge that, and if they don't, they ain't going nowhere. That's what happened to your party. Why is it so fucked up? Why did you nominate such a colossally flawed, the biggest flawed candidate in the history of the Democratic Party? Why did you guys nominate her? Because this machine is broken inside the Democratic Party. The way everything works is broken by Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. They turned the Democrats into Republicans, which is why they sound like fucking lunatics now. They're even red baiting nonstop. For Christ's sake, get a hold of yourselves. Hundreds of thousands of people have come forward to say they want Keith Ellison to lead the party, but that party stalls and stalls and stalls and seems determined to do anything other than pick the progressive choice. If the Democratic Party is going to have any success moving forward, it must lean into progressive populism and not away from it. So far, I don't see this happening, and the Obamas and Clintons don't seem to be taking us there. So way to go, Sean King. He nails it again. And again, the people who supported Hillary in the primary are still doubling down on their on-purpose stupidity and ignorance. I don't know what it was. You were raised wrong, or if you're all alcoholic children of you're all adult children of alcoholics, or what the fuck your problem is. You can't even admit a basic truth. You guys are as bad as George Bush supporters. And that's not hyperbole. You can't. That's the problem with why people hated the George Bush administration, because they lied and gaslighted and wouldn't admit fucking truths everyone could see on their TV. And now the people who supported Hillary in the primary are exactly on purpose as ignorant as they are. And that's why I say that's why I want to get out of the Democratic Party. I think we need a third party, but we need a charismatic leader to start it, to get it really going. I think I'm joining the Democratic Socialist Party. Mm-hmm. They're really booming. By the way, their numbers are really climbing, and I agree. I line up with them, and we need a charismatic leader to get it done. I'm telling you, half the Democratic Party, I don't think they can be saved. The people who are backing Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and who are still screaming about Russia, and those people, they're determined to make the Democrats losers. They're just as dumb as the Republicans were. You know, I mean, at least the Republicans had the guts to do an autopsy. They didn't follow it. At least they had the guts to do it. The Democrats don't. They even lack that. See what donor money does? It infects their brains. And now they're worthless. So we got to get those people who are now Democrats, the Josh Barrows, we have to make it a party that those people are uncomfortable to be in. And if not, we got to start a third party. Who gives a fuck about the Democratic Party? Who cares? They screwed over Bernie. And now they gave us Trump. What are you going to do? Turn around and support him again? And then they're still turning their back on the progressives. They're still shitting all over us. What is the fucking point of this? They're determined to lose again and again and again because they're clinging to bad ideas on purpose, because it's their money train. But I know it's easier for people who aren't original thinkers to blame me and blame Jill Stein and blame Russia, instead of trying to actually blame the people who actually have the power to do something about it.